I started writing for the Skiers Gazette in the late 1960s. When I was editing the Crested Butte newspaper, they would occasionally reprint some of my more obnoxious editorials, and transitioned then into the Mountain Gazette in 1972. My name is George Sibley. I'm been living in the Upper Gunnison River Valley here for most of the last 50-some years. I have been a writer all of that time, but a lot of other things too. Editing the Crested Butte newspaper for a few years, fighting forest fires with the Crested Butte Hotshots. Then I taught at Western State College, now Western Colorado University, for about 20 years, and retired from that to writing and working on water issues. I had a couple of things in the first issue of Mountain Gazette, and I've written sporadically for it whenever it was around. It transitioned into the Mountain Gazette in 1972 because, well, a couple of reasons probably. One was they needed a larger group of potential advertisers to insult in the magazine. And the other being all the writers wanted to write about things other than skiing because there was a lot more going on in the mountain communities. The Skiers Gazette was really not a ski magazine like Ski or Skiing were. It wasn't out to recruit people to come to ski areas. It was basically written by, for, and of the people who lived in the ski resort communities. I don't know whether they intended that to be the situation, but that's the way it seemed to turn out. When it became the Mountain Gazette, it was basically the same thing. It was by, for, and of people who found their way into the mountain communities and people who hope to eventually find their way into the mountain communities. It was not trying to sell the mountains to anybody. It was about people and by people who lived in the mountains. Mike Moore was hired to edit and manage the Skiers Gazette. His ambition was to find and develop writers, and he found people like me and Dick Dorworth and Galen Rowell and a lot of people who hung out in the mountains and wrote about things somewhat under that edict of I'm not sure what I think until I see what I've written. And he gave us space and encouragement, and sometimes he gave us ideas. The Mountain Gazette spoiled the hell out of us, gave us all this space. That part of a winter series, probably 60 or 70,000 words spread over 4 issues. You don't get those kinds of opportunities in the real world. So we were given all this space to develop our thinking and thoughts, and Mountain Gazette was like the Skiers Gazette before it, written by, for, and of the people who lived in the mountains, rather than people that advertisers were trying to lure to the mountains to buy a bunch of gear and enjoy themselves outdoors and hopefully not destroy their knees and legs. I think what Mountain Gazette means to readers is this is us talking to ourselves about where we are and what we value and why we're here and why we find what we value here rather than in the mainstream culture. Mountain Gazette is not a mainstream publication and probably never will be if it's going to be true to its roots. It's by, for, and of people who live in the mountains.